So the next speaker is Ashkbiz Danehkar from the University of Michigan, who will talk about simulations of starburst-driven superwinds in galaxies. We see your screen. And
hello, everyone. Thank for organizer for giving me time to present my works. I recently did a flash hydrodynamic simulation in collaboration with Sally Oy at University of Michigan and Bill Grace. And we studied the formation of superwind and superbubble, which emerged from OB associations, OB type star in the star-forming galaxy. And we studied the formation of a strong radiative cooling, which called also catastrophic coolings. And we did a series of hydrodynamic simulations, and we used that hydrodynamic simulations result to run photoionization models. I briefly explain what is superwind and superbubble. Here you see the image of NGC 3079s, and you see the formations of a large bubble which visible in X-ray image. And this large bubble is formed by the galactics, large scales outflow, which called superwinds, which emerge from OB-type cluster of OB-type stars in the star-forming regions. And here is the schematic view of the super bubble and superwinds. And here I show, here it's, the paper shows how the superwinds and superbubbles produced by star-based regions. And the theoretical models of the formation of superwinds initially studied by Chavir and Kelage in 1985. There are hydrodynamic simulations. There are hydrodynamics models, but not hydrodynamic simulation, hydrodynamic analytical models, which done by Chavir and Kelage. And this time without including radiative solutions. And here, by using these solutions, we see that the density declined with the power of radius to -2, and also temperature declines by power law of the radius. So this is the basic model for formation of free expanding superwinds. And there is other works in 1975 and 1977 where they studied the adiabatics bubble solutions. And in these analytical solutions, there are 4 regions. The region which you see here is the free expanding winds, and region here is the formation of hot bubbles, and here is the shell regions. And at the end, the 4th region is the adiabatics, the ambient mediums. And this 4 regions is forms when there is super bubbles. And here again, there is a schematic view of these 4 regions, free expanding regions, the region which there is a bubble, and the region which there is shell ambient mediums. And blue here is the temperature, and red here is the density. And here you see the formation of the shell, and in the temperature you see the formation of the bubbles. However, in some observations, we see that there is a strong catastrophic cooling which cannot explain by this model, and there is a separation of the superwind. This is one observations which done recently, and there is other ones which also show the separation of superwinds and strongly catastrophic coolings. And I should explain there is other solutions which developed in 2004, and they extended the hydrodynamic solutions of Chavir-Kelage, and they include the cooling functions. And by this cooling function, we see by increasing the metallicity, this cooling curve declines, so increasing metallicity contributed to stronger radiative coolings. Also here we see that by increasing the ionizing source, the luminosity ionizing source, we also increase the radiative coolings. And here this is the adiabatic solutions. This is the adiabatic solution, and this is the radiative solutions. And we did a hydrodynamic simulation. There is a schematic view of our hydrodynamic simulation. We made a Python interface and use this Python interface to run a serial grid of flash simulations. And these flash simulations also run cloudy model for initialized conditions. And this is the model built in the flash, which initially built by Bill Gray's, which called Mayhem. We set the initial and boundary conditions based on Chauvet-Lake and Silic model, and we solved this hydrodynamic equation using unsplit hydrodynamic solvers. And this part is also done by Gray. They included he included the non-equilibrium coolings and also non-equilibrium ionizations. And we use these density and temperature models to run photoionization modelings using clouds. And here you see the result of our hydrodynamic simulations. In the blue lines, which has lower velocities, we see the coolings. That dashed lines, it show what predict by Chauvet-Lake adiabatic solutions. But bold solid lines, blue lines show the solutions of radiative solutions. In the orange and red, you don't see any catastrophic coolings, but in the blue, you see the catastrophic cooling and also separation of the bubble. But in those orange and red, you see the formation of bubble, which are not present in the blue ones. And in the left, you see temperature, and on the right, there is densities. So in the density also, you see the formation of shells. And we did a series of grid simulation, and we classified them based on temperature profile, based on diversion from these dashed lines, adiabatic solutions. And here you see these temperature fractions, the hydrodynamic solution, which compare to adiabatic solutions, and the blue show the stronger radiative coolings, and we classify based on catastrophic coolings with bubble and without bubble, CB with bubble, CC without bubble, and AP, which is also visible in the animations. The adiabatics separates confined winds, and AB is adiabatic with bubble. And here there is a classification based on this. And we see here by, this is the wind velocity. By increasing wind velocity, we also increase the formation of catastrophic coolings. And other things we see, we also, I should explain here, also with increasing metallicity, we also increase the catastrophic coolings. And also by increasing the mass loading rate, here we have two different mass loading rates, we also increase the catastrophic. So by decreasing wind terminal velocity and increasing mass loading rates, also increasing metallicity, we have higher radiative coolings. And we use this density and temperature, which produced by hydrodynamic simulation to run cloudy models. We run two cloudy models. One, we use only density and temperature calculated by cloudy, but the second one, we use both density and temperature, which calculated by our model in Flash. So here you see two different models, one of them CP, another one CPI. CP is a pure photoionization, CPI is a photoionization plus hydrodynamic collision ionizations. And here you see also the formation of catastrophic diversion from adiabatic solutions. As you see here in these solutions, in CPI, you see a stronger O6 oxygen 6 lines, which produced by this region is produced by collision ionization in catastrophic coolings. So there is some difference between pure photoionization and photoionization plus hydrodynamic collision ionizations. And in order to make a BPD diagrams, we use this volumes emissivity, which I show here. This is volume emissivity, which produced by Kelody, and we take it as input in some Python codes, and we calculate these integrations, which we able us to calculate radiative band and density banded luminosity. Previously, they will just in the last year, 2 years ago paper, just calculated total luminosity, but recently we did we use these equations and we calculate these two integrals, and we are able to obtain radiative band and density banded luminosity. And here I show radiative banded luminosities, and as you see that there is quite overlaps with what we see in with observations. This is, I show here, this is observations and from a star-forming galaxy. And here you see the region, the difference by increasing metallicity, for example, we decrease oxygen's 3 lines. However, in order to see how catastrophic cooling form, we need to observe UV emission lines, and here is diagnostic for UV emission line. Here you see there is a catastrophic cooling, and in this region, which there is catastrophic cooling, there is a diversion from those without catastrophic cooling. This cross and plus show the catastrophic cooling is shown here. So catastrophic cooling with bubble and catastrophic cooling without bubbles. And here you see also there is some diversion from without catastrophic coolings. So using the UV and UV diagram, not BPD diagram optical, but UV diagram, we may able to distinguish between those with adiabatics without cooling and those with radiatives coolings. And here is also oxygen 6 versus carbon 4, which here I show also catastrophic coolings here. And also I made a website. I should show the websites. Here in this website, I uploaded the animation for difference model. And for example, here in orange, you see the catastrophe. The dashed lines show adiabatic solution, but solid lines show radiative solutions. And for example, here by increasing metallicity, we see in blue we have higher coolings, but by decreasing metallicity, the cooling decrease. Also by increasing the ambient medium, we increase radiative coolings. Also by increasing the mass loading rate, we also increase catastrophic cooling. Also there is result for photoionization emissivity plots. Here we see how this line for oxygen 6 form or O3 form, how they depends on metallicity, ambient density, also wind terminal velocities. So also there is also result for, I also made the result in machine readable tables, so you can also check. And this is for different radiative bonded model, also density bonded model, and partially and fully density bonded models. And finally, and here is a summary of my result. In the superwind theory, we have adiabatic solution and radiative solution. We included radiative solutions in hydrodynamic simulations. And by including this radiative solution, we are able to see how catastrophic coolings form. And we see that radiative cooling increased by increasing mass loading rate and decreasing outflow velocity and increasing the metallicities, these 4 parameters. Also, we run the photoionization modeling based on density and temperature, which produced by this hydrodynamic simulation, and we able to see what is the solution different for adiabatic and cooling solution, and we made BPT and UV diagram. It seems that we see the difference mostly on UV diagrams. However, we are in preparation for result for non-equilibrium photoionization, and our current result is hydro-collision ionizations. And in our future work, in the future paper, this current paper is submitted to APJ, but in future paper, we also see the result of non-equilibrium photoionization, and we also plan to extend this result to the simulation, which we are able to see instability induced cause clamps in outflow. So if you have any questions, I can answer. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you for an interesting talk. Questions? Ronnie?
Yes, hello, hi. Very nice. I was wondering about one thing when we a while ago looked at these kind of spherically symmetric models of wind outflows, of wind bubbles, including also some effect of radiative losses. As you probably know, you could then get into regimes where the shocked interstellar medium shell becomes extremely narrow. And you saw that also in this particular, the red line, basically. The shocked interstellar medium becomes extremely narrow. We actually looked at that in the context of, can we get resolved solutions, because this is something, the compression ratio can go to infinity theoretically, basically. So can you comment on that? What kind of resolutions did you take in your 1D simulations, and are you sure you have fully resolved like these very narrow features?
Yeah, it's depend. Also, it's a good question. The result is also depend on resolution which we use, and for this simulation we use 512 resolution, which also we use mesh refined, maximum mesh refined of 2 in flash, so it totally gives a resolution of 1024. So with these resolutions, as you see here, is the result. Yeah, it depends on also the resolutions, and by increasing resolutions, we may see some, here you see these regions, we may see some better results. But increasing resolutions, we also increase computational times, and it will make it expensive. So for this work, we use 512, which with 2 mesh refined, maximum mesh refined 2 gives us 1024. So if I
think in terms of computational resources, I mean, 1D is not really difficult at high resolution, right? I mean,
this is also was very computational expensive, because it was a flash simulation, and also there was this non-equilibrium ionization and the cooling functions.
Oh, okay.
And
Thank
running
you.
all this was expensive.
Are questions? I have to say, it brings back a lot of memory seeing these plots like this, because it looks very much like things I did before on mostly focused on planetary nebulae, where there's also photoionization and wind-driven bubbles, etc. So what is your if you're already struggling with doing 1D simulations, how do you see the future working on 2D?
Currently, we built the model for 1D, and we also built the model for, I didn't present here, for there is also result for non-equilibrium photoionizations, the photoionization plus non-equilibrium ionizations. And there is some difference between this non-equilibrium ionization and collision ionizations. And our plan is to extend this 1D to 2D simulation, which we are able us to see instability and clumps which form in outflow. Currently in 1D simulation, we cannot see this instability and clumps in 1D, but with 2D we allow us to see this formation of these clumps. So we are planning to do in
but you can do you think you can do 2D simulations?
We should get computation, high performance, more resource for 2D high performance. We can do, but right currently we don't have enough computing resource.
I don't know, very quickly, Tomoyuki, maybe?
Yeah, thank you. I'm interested in the last point you made, raised. Do you expect, where do you expect 2D clumpy structure that is associated with catastrophic cooling, or in other regions do you expect clumpy structure?
The clumpy structure, if it's formed, for example, in the wind, which I show the shell and the bubble, if we do in 2D, though that shell is broken. Currently, you see the shell is formed, but it's not broken. And it's in 2D, it's broken to several pieces, which means the formation of clumps structures.
Thank you.
I think we need to leave it at that. So more questions could be asked in the chat or in the Slack channel.